Hey guys, Scripted here with another video, and this is always fun because when the Acolyte was going on and I was reviewing it, I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, it was hilarious. Some of the stuff was so dumb and so funny. And when it got canceled, what was even funnier was this Renew the Acolyte campaign and all these people, and I did a video on that. I'll put the link in the description. But it's just really funny stuff. Like, you see their tweets, you see their posts, you see all that stuff. And so I enjoyed making that video about the Renew the Acolyte campaign. I went through the whole website and show you everything that they were doing. And it's funny. It's cringy. I love it. And I have nothing against these people. I don't care. I just think it's funny. And now we've got another sort of renewal of that, of the Renew the Acolyte. They found some new hope because the Luminate numbers came out about how many minutes this show got watched. And they all kind of got so excited the last 24 hours and started just tweeting and posting on Instagram and, oh my gosh, see, this show was so popular, it needs to get a season 2. And then reality set in, and let's get into that today. So one of the big proponents of the Renew the Acolyte campaign when I was doing my other video was this account here, Martha. And Martha really loves the Acolyte. And you know what, Martha? You are allowed to love the Acolyte. But since this whole thing's been going down, now she's retweeting some of these hilariously cringy tweets from the summertime. Thank you all for your support, Acolyte fandom. I love you all. Please keep fighting. And you're just like, it's a show. Like, this is so funny how like intense these people like are. Like, it's a show. It's a TV show. Oh man. But there's so much more. This is beautiful. But before we go into that, let's just look at these numbers, okay, that came out. And this is what everyone was super excited about for the Acolyte and the numbers. So the Acolyte brought in 2.6 billion or 2.7 billion minutes viewed. Percy Jackson and the Olympians was 3,770 million minutes watched. Now, that's pretty terrible when you consider what they spent to make the Acolyte. That is not a good number. And it's not even just that, it's in comparison to other things. And then we compare it to these other streaming sites. And some people are saying, well, but Netflix has 750 million subscribers and Disney Plus only has 150 million subscribers, so that makes perfect sense. It doesn't, though, because none of these shows cost anywhere near what the Acolyte cost to make. Not even in the same hemisphere. In fact, one of the comparisons I made was Squid Game Season 1. In 1 week, well, Season 2 in 1 week did 4.6 billion views, or 4.9, I should say, in December. But Season 1 had 265 million views. The Acolyte had 7.7 after its first 3 episodes. So let's say generously it got 30 million overall views. Well, five times, 150 is roughly 750. So 5 times 3, that's 150 million. That's still way under. And Squid Game cost 1/10 the amount to make. So let's get to the argument that is being made by the fans of the Acolyte. Disney Plus canceled the Acolyte after massive success with 2.7 billion minutes viewed in 2024, bowing to critics who claimed it was diverse and anti-lore. The number 2 show on the platform, second only to Percy Jackson, ends despite its popularity. What these people aren't understanding is that this is an indictment of Disney Plus. If this is the most popular show they had, or the second most, because even the Olympians didn't do super well either, that's bad. Disney Plus is doing really, really poorly. But this particular show's on another level because, like I said, they spent so much money making it and they marketed the crap out of it. It was everywhere. It was all over Twitter, all over the TV, all over everywhere. Who knows what they spent on? $100 million? I don't know. And it didn't work. And the reality of it is the people that like the Acolyte aren't understanding that this is not a good number for them. They don't really get it. They see the, number 2 most Disney Plus, and they assume that that means it was a good show or whatever. It wasn't a good show. Even like to me, it wouldn't matter how many views it had. But even compared to Mando and all those other shows, it did awful. I never want to hear again that the Acolyte cancellation was ever about numbers, viewership, when it was Disney's number 2 most viewed series in 2024. Just absolute clowns over a Disney and Lucasfilm. Y'all are not ready for the discussion that the Acolyte was actually groundbreaking as a Star Wars show, but I'll wait for y'all to change your mind in 5 years while begging for more of the content that you wanted that the Acolyte brought to life. Yeah, I'm gonna disagree there. I don't think that's gonna happen. But you know what? See, MegaCon, maybe it will. We deserve those hashtag 3 seasons and a movie to continue the story and let the show grow. Reminder: the Acolyte is coming in second to a show released December 2023. Doesn't matter. They're so dumb. Even that's bad. The ratings for all of it is bad. Disney Plus is doing really, really poorly right now.
What is this? Okay, Star Wars!
Collider even got in on it. The Mega Shill article here saying that these numbers prove that this was a hit show and it never should have been canceled. And you're just like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, do you have any idea the cost? And we're going to get into that. I have some really good details. Somebody on Reddit actually did a really good breakdown of the numbers. They did all the math in front of your face. So we're going to look into that as well. But this is just hilarious that these shill sites can't come to grips with the fact that this was a disaster for Disney in terms of money. Total disaster. Forget about the fact that it ticked off so many, legacy fans with the lore and stuff like that. It's also lost a lot of money, and we'll get into that. Rebecca herself reposted the Save the Acolyte account. I love it. Excited about the Acolyte news of 2.7 billion views last year? New fan or never got around to doing this? Please help us reverse the review bombing on Rotten Tomatoes. Tutorial below. I'm sure just thousands upon tens of thousands of people are just going to rush to do all this stuff for your Acolyte. Well, at least the toys are doing really well. I mean, they're just flying off the shelves. Over 60 articles call the Acolyte one of the best shows with the saddest cancellation. The best episode of the year. A great cast and amazing performances. 6 months of campaigning. Second most watched show of 2024, and now we're trending. And then you can see Collider, Anywire. These are all this is what makes it so funny is, I don't know if these people are old enough to remember, the critics hated the original Star Wars. In fact, they hated pretty much all of them. And yet they're the most beloved, some of the most beloved films of all time, and literally started this whole thing. So critics' opinions, most people don't care what critics have to say anymore. At least the mainstream critics, right? People go on the internet now. They don't even bother with them anymore. Disney is 0-2 against the most annoying, vile Star Wars fans ever to be spawned in this planet. I don't understand why the Acolyte got canceled if it was doing well. And that's one of the things I wanted to do as well, is get into sort of this whole narrative that even the mainstream is not directly saying Collider, but they're implying that this was a successful show. So the only possible reason it could have got canceled was because Disney just gave in to the bigots. This person seems just completely stable. How did this average more minutes than Andor, and yet Andor was celebrated, stroked off praise renewed for a second season, held up as the savior of Star Wars, and was compared to Blade Runner and Bond when it couldn't even beat out Acolyte and Obi-Wan. You know, we got to get Jacob's opinion on this. I love me some Jacob. Hilarious how everyone that hate watched or this series to continue a problematic grift willingly contributed to this being one of the most successful streaming series last year, despite it not getting renewed for a second season. Jacob, it was not successful. And you know what? Because of you, Jacob, let's look into this. Okay, and here's that article I was telling you guys about, or the blog post, whatever you want to say, from Saltier Than Crate, and he does a really good job of really breaking this down. And feel free to check this out. Go look him up on Reddit. This is from 7 months ago, so this is 3 episodes into the Acolyte. This is when he wrote this article, when we started getting that very initial information from Nielsen and stuff. He basically breaks down the data to the point where you're looking at the first 3 episodes of the Acolyte. Like I said earlier, did 7.27 million total views for 3 episodes of a Star Wars show. And in a country of 380 million people, and this is supposed to be Star Wars, so what's the average there? Like, that's like 2.8 or something? No, that's like 2.5, less than 2.5 million people watched it. And I remember when I did my breakdown in a different way, I came to around that same conclusion. It was like 2.4, something like that. 2.5, sure, whatever. Let's say it's 2.5. But that's not very good. But this is the really cool part right here, is where he breaks down. He says, let's go one more step here and look into the investment aspect from a financial standpoint. Maybe we don't necessarily care as viewers, but the money movers absolutely consider this. We are going to take the show's budget, divide it properly into the number of episodes, and then see how much a view costs Disney. That is ultimately what matters the most. Customer cost of acquisition. Right? If you've ever watched Shark Tank or any of those shows, that's always a huge deal. Especially in today's day and age with the internet and all the different ways that we advertise and stuff like that. What is it costing you to get a view? Now, just to throw something out there, this, because I'm doing this after Jacob, I just also want to mention that Jacob apparently has been buying subs and stuff. And I would suggest to Jacob that is ill-advised. Now, I think it's probably true, because if you have 50,000 subs and you're getting like 500 views, like regularly, that probably means something's not right, right? And I would just suggest, Jacob, like, don't do that, dude. Just be natural. Just be you. I don't, like, yeah, I think you're corny and cringy, but a lot of people like that. A lot of, you're going to, you don't need to do those things. Like, don't do that. That's dumb. That's dumb. It just makes you look really desperate and sad. That's all I'm going to say. So just don't do that. But anyways, so if you look at this, and people are commenting, in those previous tweets, like, oh, it did better than Obi-Wan, it did better than Andor. Now, Andor's a bit of an anomaly, because Andor's still costing a lot to get a view. Andor cost a lot to get a view. And yet they're making another season. And they're making another season that's costing quite a bit of money. I feel like Lucasfilm is viewing Andor as like their sort of art piece, their Star Wars art piece kind of thing. Like they really like it themselves. We know that they don't always like all their shows. We know that it was reported that Skeleton Crew wasn't really liked by Lucasfilm. They didn't promote it as much as some of these other shows. But if you look at it, like, you're bringing up, like, Mando, $2 a view. And this is the issue. The Acolyte cost too much money. Andor did too. 100%. But Andor season 2 was already in production. They're not going to stop at that point. They did say they're only doing 2 seasons. So they're cutting their losses. So if you say, well, the Acolyte only cost, 60 cents more, it's not like it's that big of a difference. But they have to cut their losses, right? Because since Andor Season 2 started production, things have just been plummeting. Not just Star Wars, Disney Plus in general. So they had to cut it off. That's way too much money. That's nuts, actually. Ahsoka wasn't too bad, right? They kept their budget half reasonable. Obi-Wan, same thing. And Book of Boba Fett, same thing. But no, like, this is insane. $9.30 a view? That's what they're paying? That's nuts. That would mean like you'd have to have like an hour of commercials at least to justify that, right? And again, it's not justified in Andor either, but hokey dina. This show did really, really poorly. I'm sorry, Shills. Acolyte didn't get dumped because it was a bad show. It got dumped because the dude bros couldn't stand seeing a show that wasn't white male dominated and had nobody with the last name Skywalker in it. What's so disappointing about the Acolyte is that it was fresh and new and there was so much potential, and now we know that viewership wasn't the reason it was canceled. It was set up to fail from the beginning with the review bombing and the bigotry. Quick reminder that if you want a lot of laughs, check out my Renew the Acolyte campaign video. A link is in the description.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Is there some sort of mandate to portray the Acolyte as mid? Even a random Star Wars fan site phrases in such a way to perpetuate that the show had some sort of failing, while almost all industry reviews hailed it as refreshing and appealing to broader fan base. But it didn't. No one watched it. Your racism and misogyny prevent you from seeing why the Acolyte is the best Star Wars property in history. And I just wanted to mention this whole culture of like blaming this tiny minority of like actual bigots on the internet. It just became this whole rallying cry for this show. Like they thought that by like constantly bringing that up, that was going to somehow translate to Star Wars fans. Like the guy who played what's his name? Soul. By the way, Keanu Reeves dodged a bullet on this one. But anyways, my feelings were hurt, especially for Leslie Headland. Her feelings must have been hurt a lot. I can only have faith that racism will end someday, even though it's going to be hard. Racism for Leslie Headland? What are you talking about? See, they're just saying the word racism as like a I don't want to say catchphrase, but like as like a triggering word for their allies. It's like nothing to do with racism. The show just sucked. And then we get to the crux of the matter, and Yancey Evans here breaks it down perfectly. Yeah, that number is pretty brutal. Individual episodes of The Mandalorian were bringing in over 1.2 billion viewer minutes. Mando Season 2 had over 8.3 billion total view minutes and cost less than half the production of The Acolyte. That's why The Acolyte was canceled. Which, of course, feeds, dovetails, whatever, off of what we were discussing earlier, the customer cost of acquisition, or the cost of a view acquisition. And knowing what it costs, when you see these numbers that this guy's putting out, it's not good. It's not good. They've somehow just inflated budgets and made it just crazy. So I don't know what they were thinking. Like, and I can't for the life of me understand how the Acolyte cost that much money. I know they did live sets and stuff. They didn't use the volume all that much and all that and blah, blah, blah. That did not look like a $250 million show to me. I'm sorry, but it did not. You look at some of the outfits and stuff, it looked pretty shabby. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Let me know in the comment section what you think. If you think this is funny, like I said, click the link below and watch my other video, which is actually way funnier. It is a riot. I like the fact these guys are coming back out of the woodwork and tweeting and saying dumb stuff. It's actually hilarious and fun to watch. Let me know in the comment section what you think. If you like this content, please like, subscribe. It always helps the channel. Feel free to check anything else on my channel. Have yourselves a really good day.